what we do here is we have conversations with people so that we can better understand where they're coming from and talk to them so that we can share basic mistakes in thinking that people make and then try and improve where they're coming from so we can all have an honest and intellectually vigorous discussion.
Honest. Okay. My take isn't there something to be said that isn't there some possibility that having cheap immigrant labor it's somewhat exploitative and it is driving down wages in certain sector. For example, if you can pay and someone who is not documented here, like below minimum wage or even a super cheap wage to do backbreaking labor that Americans refuse to do because under a fair labor market, you would get paid way more than $10 or $15 to be out in the sun, destroying your back, to make a living. So instead, what we do is we get poor people who can't do any better, and we make them do it. Isn't that exploitative? And does it not also hurt Americans?
I think that's zero sum thinking in the way that
Mhm.
they are benefiting from labor, but also a lot of that relies on the employers not actually getting any fines or anything for employing those workers. And then also, it's kind of shifting the blame from the people who sorry, my brain just froze up. The
That
people
happens when
who
cameras are on people.
I know, that's terrible. That's why I don't do this so often. It's shifting the blame from the people who came over to get a job from the employers of those people. And the fact that there's no unions. Unions would solve that problem. Unionization. So
Okay, so do you think we should make it illegal or impose severe fines for employers who hire illegal immigrants?
that would be a start if you genuinely think that they are damaging the economy, but the truth is they are not. What we actually should be doing is a different third thing, which I'm going to say is, it's a false dilemma to say that there are no other options. The third thing you should be doing is documenting these people and, possibly giving them, work, rights to work and things like that. And that
And
pretty much
then
solves the problem. So they're not working under the table. They have to work at least minimum wage. And
yeah.
that, that helps.
Okay, very good.
That's the
very
best
good.
I can do.
Thought that was a great interface. All right. Let's see. Does anyone else have a claim they want to make? Or is there someone else that has been learning about these errors that would like to speak?
Or that's someone else
Be
want to
willing
practice
to.
on me.
Yeah. Alternatively, Recruit, why don't you try telling people about these cognitive errors when an argument is made?
Cognitive errors when.
Yeah, you've been here enough. You've heard it so many times, right? Yeah. So let's let someone come in, and then you can start telling them about these mistakes.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and kick the person named Uncle over here. Great. That should open up a space. Let's see. Would anyone like to talk about something?
Yeah, I got a question.
Fantastic. Mirko, if you can get the camera on Kaylee over here, and Recruit will try and have the conversation.
Oh, I was just curious what the whole idea of this room is. So are we picking a subject to talk about? We just select a subject. 'Cause I'm from a different room about like picking a subject about a debate or something like that.
So the idea of this room is to teach people how to think or how to argue by showing them certain skills and certain errors to watch out for. And that's what we have up here on the screen. Can you see them? So these are what some people would call fallacies or
Yeah, I guess
And
how to
yeah.
how to debate people or stay away
Mhm.
from fallacies.
Not necessarily, not only debate, but like have a constructive conversation. I love debating, but I understand that it isn't
Yeah,
always the best
or
thing
if
to
like
do.
you have a family member who's confused about politics or how to do that, you can argue your argument in a way that kind of shows the fallacies or errors in thinking in other people's policy. You know.
Yes. But yeah, at this moment,
Okay.
we've done the lesson, and now we're waiting on practice.
So
We're
this is
making on someone to make a
this.
claim, and then we're gonna point out
So
the errors, if
you
any,
guys
in
are
their
not
claim.
Let's talk politics then anymore. This is a completely different format. Is that what this is?
Yep.
Pretty much. So, okay. No penguin hunter anymore.
Nope.
I am hopeful that Penguin Hunter will run a room called Let's Talk Politics and do what he thinks is right, and that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So is this room only for politics debate, or can I say like the room I just came back from? They're talking about do we have free will or whatnot. I mean,
Yeah. So the here, let's go to the document camera, or so that you can see what we're talking about. We write down whether or not something you think in the world that is a good idea or a bad idea, right? So free will is something quite different, but treating people like they have total personal autonomy, that would be something you say, well, that's a really good idea. And then we can start unpacking the logic underlying that. And then we find, oh, that might be, I don't know, what might that be?
It's a pragmatic argument.
Yeah. Well, if we go to the series of errors in thinking, it's pretty close to an attribution error, right? The idea that we can ignore the whole system around somebody and just attribute everything they do to themselves. So then we would go to the next step where we steel man the argument and we try and come up with the best argument we could to defend what's being said. We'd say something like, it's best to help people have the most freedom by reducing the parts of the system that limit freedom. And that would be a pretty good argument, right? And that is what we do. We try and take what's your bad argument, simply appealing to attribution error, and get to a better argument, a way to get at what you wanted in the first place. So that's how we do the conversation.
Cool.
gotcha.
I bet Noah is willing to talk to Recruit.
What's up?
Would you do us the kindness of letting Recruit talk to you about an idea that you think is good or bad, and going through that process that I just talked about? Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a productive thing to do.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so give us an idea you think is good or bad.
Substantial border wall, like from one end to the other, where and you know everything else that goes into patrolling it and actual resources to control who and comes and goes to our country. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And what would be the intent of this?
You're saying that's a good idea?
Yeah, I'm proposing that as a good idea, and the intent of it would be things like limiting fentanyl coming into our country and actually treating the people who go through the proper process fairly, instead of wasting their time when maybe they could have achieved the same end goal by doing it by disrespecting or breaking our laws as the first thing they do when they step foot in our soil.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the best person to talk about that.
Yeah.
Don't have any strong opinions on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have enough information.
I could
about,
probably give you
the
a more of a hot
problems with,
hot topic.
But that's good. It's actually a very good conversation.
Yeah, someone else can talk about that, but it's not me. I,
mean,
don't know how
is
many.
is it
border
open for
crossings
anyone
are
to just
landed.
jump
well, as long, Telos, as your intent is to use these various limitations in thinking, the thinking mistakes, to talk about and address the mistakes that are inside of what was said right there, and then
Okay.
find a better way of making the argument.
Let me just read a few of these first.
Right.
So if anyone else wants to jump in.
See. Oh, sleep. I would run. All right. I will take this conversation and show how I might address it.
Mhm.
And then hopefully we'll get more conversations like this. And no doubt we will, right? Because it's like the thing we do here. Oh my God.
I miss Penguin Hunter.
Yeah, right?
Just throwing that out there.
You would make it a lot more fun, right? All right. Good. Yeah, I think this will work. So, Noah, let's start with the first statement that you made as why you think a full border wall would be a good idea, right? Fentanyl crossings, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And what, if you're thinking about your thinking here, are you thinking that there's been an increase in fentanyl in America, which there absolutely has been, and there's been an increase in border crossings, which there has been since Obama, right? Therefore, we're seeing more fentanyl, we're seeing more border crossings. If we stop
Murkov,
lower...
which way do you want me to face? I don't know what to do.
Oh yeah, here. Let me
No,
get.
just stay right there. You're perfectly
Should
fine.
I look at Dr. Sayus or look at the camera?
Yeah, I think that's
I'll
reasonable. Here.
move it better. I apologize. I'll move to a better.
Okay.
There we go.
There you
You
go.
can look at Tess and the camera at the same time.
Okay. Are you going for a correlation versus causation?
Yeah, I'm implying that perhaps the reason that you think that people crossing the border is the cause of the increase in fentanyl is because the two things happen at the same time. Yeah. And so, do you know of alternative explanations?
Specifically on the fentanyl, that was
Yes.
just one of the
It's okay.
Yeah, I guess a mental health solution. I mean, nobody should want to put themselves in a situation where they're going to inadvertently or purposely be introduced to a drug like fentanyl. So there is another avenue we could tackle this, but I think a lot of people that I'm hearing anecdotally, it seems like an impurposeful, like not a willing act to be introduced to that substance.
Even more than that, in terms of like the folks that are here, right? Like, and by willing act, I mean getting into fentanyl addiction, right? But this is a different question. Is there another reason that you might see a increase in fentanyl at the same time as an increase in immigration?
Nothing is jumping to my mind as another reason.
Could it be?
I mean, maybe you could argue that that fentanyl could be imported by legal immigration as well.
It's not, and indeed, I read an article in New York Times that said the vast majority of fentanyl and precursors being smuggled is being smuggled by American citizens that are coming back from vacation because they get looked at less harshly, and it's much harder to push someone across the border through the desert of New Mexico or across the Rio Grande River than it is to just have somebody say, "Oh, nothing to declare," and come back through.
I have a first-hand story. It's a quick one, not a story. But my brother did fall into the grips of drug addiction, and he looks like the proto. Yeah, he's over it now. His life is on track. But during that, he was approached by a group of shady individuals who offered him a lot of money to be some type of a mule or something to transport these things. They took him out to try to wine and dine him. They took him to a steak dinner, and and they wanted him to be a person who could not have a lot of eyes on him, not draw attention to himself to transport these things. These things do happen, yes.
Yeah, and so this is the best research we've been able to find. That's actually how it's happening. So while they've been saying that it's undocumented crossings that are causing an increase in fentanyl, it's just a correlation. It's not causal.
But it does happen.
So it's people coming back
yeah.
from vacation?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
I don't think I would sneak out. Like, if I went on vacation, I would.
Would not. You would not. But Noah's brother, who I hope didn't, would be the kind of person that would put pressure on to do that, right? Somebody that has an addiction, somebody that would like fentanyl for themselves, right? And they would be living full access to fentanyl if they went there and did this for them, right? And what if someone that was addicted gets caught? You're at one payload, right? You do it with 100 people, you lose 2, these things happen. On the other hand, they're much more stable, right? Because the guy who gets that big, shipment of fentanyl, it's all wrapped up, he's not going to try and sell it to someone else. He has a life back in the States. But someone who's trying to move to the United States, are they as easy to hunt down and take out if they try and steal your fentanyl? No. Especially if it seems that they're coming here for work. So that would be correlation and causation. And it's very important. And not just you, of course, Noah, all of us. We try and make sense of the world because one thing happened at the same time as another thing. I think the worst example of this, Noah, I don't know if you've noticed this. Have you ever watched those stock shows where they explain the Dow Jones went up 2.5 points today on news that there was a bombing in Turkey? Have you seen those?
Yeah, I never really understood.
It isn't. It isn't true. It isn't true. There are thousands and thousands of companies involved in the whole stock market. There are hundreds of thousands of points of data all coming together, and one little news story is not what makes it go up or down in that moment. But the people that are there are not meant to tell you the truth of the complex world. They're meant to, as sages for the acts of the unexplainable God that is the market, say, it is understandable what our great, good leader, the market, is saying. Be calm, be calm. You will be assuaged. Let us make a sacrifice of half a point for interest rate. It doesn't add up that way.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt like you took it a way different direction. To me, I see a value in a physical barrier for entry and knowing to the best of our capability who comes and goes.
Yeah, so
and then we can work from there as far as
now
is my brother, if he went down that road, if he's crossing back and forth into Mexico without any rationale, then you can search and seize the property in his truck and get the dogs out there. There's some sophisticated machinery as well. That's a
good point, right? But devices. Now, so let's ask this. We're going to, if we're going to put a wall across the border, right?
Yeah.
Is that really the best use of our investment for controlling people crossing the border? Because even when borders have been put up, walls have been put up, people have dug massive tunnels underneath
So we should
them.
put machine gunners.
Machine gunners have a hard time shooting through the ground.
I mean, I do agree that
We developed
borders
guns that
should have
can
Now-
shoot through the
physical
ground.
barrier.
And now
We
that's
start
I'm
putting the
not
wall
saying
underground.
you're wrong, Noah, about how much that there should be some sort of patrol on the border, and I'm absolutely agreeing. Right, it makes sense that you want people to follow the law when they come here. Yeah,
How do I get rid of it?
both of those are reasonable arguments, but the idea that there should be like a DMZ style border like there is between North
Well,
Korea and South Korea.
it's a bad look.
It's not just about the look. It's about the resources. Have you ever seen the Rio Grande River?
No.
I would suggest you go zoom into it. When yeah. Now you appealed in your argument for this was fairness, right? It's not fair to the people that are immigrating legally when they could have come illegally. Is that right?
That was a component that I did bring up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's because I'm unpacking what you said about the reasons.
Yeah.
Are we?
I kind of gish galloped a little bit.
Well, that's
yes.
and I didn't want to start like claiming that for you, Noah, because all you did was bring up two reasons, and with only two, Noah. I mean, come on, like that's so much better than we usually get. So I think that's reasonable to deal with both. When we talk about fairness, though, let me ask you, if someone was brought in that was not documented, someone comes in undocumented, takes a job, is working, right? Does that mean there's one less person that we can bring in that is documented?
No, it doesn't.
No, it,
right.
No, it
so,
just means, no,
so if it was a zero sum thinking, right? If there was like this trade off, we could only have X number of people come in, and everyone that comes without documentation means someone with documentation can't. That would be a really bad problem, and it would be really unfair.
Can I put a bit of an argument? Can you hear me?
Yeah. So, on the other hand, let's try and make the best argument we can for what you're saying here, Noah. Right?
Can I help?
No, but we'll go on to you in a moment. No, the idea that and go look at the Rio Grande River. It bends, it winds. Do you know how long that border is with Canada?
Yeah.
If we followed the entire Rio Grande River as it winds, we'd have more than double the length of the Canadian border that we'd have to put walling all across. If we don't do that, then there's going to be cities that live right on the river that you're going to have to take all those people, destroy their houses, and move them back from the river. Unless you go to the Mexican side of the river, where you'd have to destroy all the people that live on that side of the river and move their houses back. So, while we both agree in principle that it's important to have people that come through legally, and you're not saying we need to deport people that are here illegally, because we can talk about like how we can help people who are doing jobs stay and make sure they're not felons.
I think, I mean, I'm not 100% sure on my beliefs on this, but I do think that I'm uncomfortable with our approach to people who are here illegally, like when they come in contact with police officers or any other thing that identifies them as illegals, and we just ignore it. To me, it seems that there's an issue there. We're
ignoring people violating federal law.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, but we're basically going down the road of having a dual class citizenship where we're okay with benefiting from these people being in here, but we're not extending the full extent of the benefits of being a citizen. So it works out better for us than it does for them, and I think
Well,
we could avoid that whole thing.
if it worked out better for us than them, right? If it was us winning at them losing, it wouldn't count.
Fair
But
point.
you're entirely right about this permanent underclass problem, right? And part of the reason for sanctuary cities and sanctuary states is exactly what you're saying. If someone is here and they're part of this class of people who will go to jail if they encounter the police, then they can't report crimes that happen to them. They can't say, I was molested by my father. Because
I
when
don't
they
think they
do
go to
that,
jail if they call the police. I don't even if they get arrested for shoplifting.
That's the
it's
point of the
it's-
sanctuary city.
that's right.
is
So that
so
they,
they don't.
won't be deported if the police are found, if the police encounter them, right? Because right now we know, for example, California knows it cannot run its farms without that immigrant labor. California also doesn't have the ability to outvote somebody from Kentucky who doesn't want California to have that immigrant labor. So California is allowing people to come in and be protected from being deported because they feel like they need that labor. And if they didn't have it, farms would go fallow until the prices went up to a point for the fruits and vegetables that it was able to fill the market for that. And people who were otherwise working in something like a McDonald's weren't working there anymore because we're at nearly full employment. If you take people out of the system, then they have to come from somewhere. They're going to come from some other employed part of the system. So prices would have to go up right?
Yeah, no, that I mean, if you're accurate on what you're saying when we say we're at fully, nearly full employment in its relationship to the amount of immigration work we're relying on, then I would have to agree with that.
Yeah. And I agree. No, if we were looking at something like huge unemployment rates, right? If it was 10% unemployment, then every time someone who was undocumented took a job, that would mean that somebody that's here legally didn't get one. But we're nowhere near that. We're at a point where we need more labor to do all the jobs. And for some reason, the people in Kentucky don't seem to be willing to vote to let that happen. So we could restrict the economy and make sure that everyone that comes over is properly documented. And I would agree with you. That would be the better option. However, it seems no one has the will to actually stop this because do you know how you stop people from coming over?
What type of people are you talking about? Illegals or
yeah? So think about the term illegal, right? It's like attributing to a person a status of illegal, but really, aren't they just responding to a series of incentives for a better life?
That doesn't.
Are they fundamentally illegal
if
people? No, it is because if we're looking to solve the problem, we can ask, how do we stop the evil from coming towards us? Or we can ask, how do we stop incentivizing good people to do things that we don't like? So if you assume that they're good people doing things that we don't like, we can change the incentive structure.
When we discussed this earlier tonight, it was proposed to me that the part of the reason that it takes so long to enter this country as a legal citizen is because we're offering grants and incentives and other things like just having access to our social security and healthcare system that they have to pour so much research into who's entering to allow them those things that it does at times take for some people up to 2.5 years, which is a crazy long amount of time compared to somebody who can forego all of that. And I think that
It does seem unfair, right? And so you're seeing, that's the structure. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're talking about. There's this structure of incentives, a structure of incentives for coming without documentation, a structure of incentives for coming with documentation, right? And then there's how much of an incentive versus disincentive is there for documentation versus not documentation, right? And so if we change the system of incentives, wouldn't that be a smarter thing to do than just saying, well, they're just fundamentally bad people, we got to get rid of them?
Gosh, I don't think they're bad. They're bad people. I just want to know who they are.
Me too, right? So here's the thing that would solve the problem, and I think it's going to help us see exactly why they don't. If you can show that someone has hired someone under a false social security number, $100,000 fine for the employer.
Yeah.
Now there's no incentive to hire people who are here undocumented because it's a huge penalty that you don't want to pay. You're not going to do that so you can get some tomatoes picked.
You want them to do that?
Oh, I think that if we're being honest, you shouldn't deport anybody. You should have that penalty, and then you'll see just how fast the people with money and power decide that they want to know who the people are and how they can be documented. You'll see Fox News turn on a dime on whether or not the people who are here should be properly documented and given a green card.
I'm pretty sure I agree with you on that. I'm honestly surprised that that's your solution.
No, you're right. It's a
you're
permanent. It's not a permanent unclass because of birthright citizenship, but we have this underclass of people that don't have access to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
If you do that, I mean, I'm pretty sure these people are still going to come here and just operate under a different type of economic oversight. They're still going to be working.
You'll find. I hope so. I hope that the people that are here would be able to pay Social Security and get Social Security. And I hope that the people that are here that are felons would be kicked the hell out.
Yeah, I agree on that.
So since we agree in principle on that, Noah, let's go back to this idea of the border wall. Yeah?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Maybe what we both agree should happen is the people who are experts at border control should tell us what they need, and then we should give it to them.
And what do you think that they're telling us that they need?
There was a bill recently where the Border Patrol sponsored it, and ICE in general was behind agreeing with the bill and telling us what they needed. Part of it is improved patrolling. Part of it is improved checkpoints as people come through to see if we can sense them having fentanyl on them, to include American citizens coming. So it's not just about immigration, but also all the problems that people are attributing to immigration. And so that
fair enough.
Okay. So then I guess we can agree that we should make the investment to better protect the border.
Checkpoints only work if you have something to funnel them into, thus a wall.
So here's the thing. I don't know that, Noah, right? Okay. And you probably don't know that either. You just kind of intuit it. But would you, if someone that was an expert...
intuitive.
Yeah, that's right. It seems intuitive. But I'm not an expert. You're not an expert on border control. So can we trust the experts on border control to tell us? I think they have. I think Border Patrol is really trying. Right? Do you believe?
If you have an entity, they're always going to ask for more funding.
Well,
they're not unbiased on it.
Well, certainly they are. That's how bureaucracies work. But do you think that they're intentionally wasting the funds, or do you think if you added 50% to their budget, they would use it to do their mandate?
I don't- their mandate is like better funding for their checkpoints and more sensory equipment to identify fentanyl, those type of things.
And more people along the border, more drones for patrolling. It turns out that ground patrol and heat sensors, along with drones, are a much better way to tell if people are crossing, and then you can get them.
Well, if we're
Oh
worried
my
about
God.
the cost of a wall, it seems very intuitive to me that you only got to pay for a wall once with a little bit of upkeep. If you're talking about sensors and patrol along the entire border, I think it would only make their job easier to have a wall. I mean, I'll never understand the I hopefully I will
So,
understand, but the
Noah,
counter argument against the wall, it just seems to stem from
well,
us
it's
being
cost.
hateful
Well,
and racist and not wanting brown
well,
people in. It seems to
do
be the
you see that here? Let's see if we can't go over to what Murkov's got. Right, so
shoot.
that's pretty good. Do you see that? You see that bend in the river?
Dr. Sayus
Yeah.
didn't. I'm dealing with an internet outage.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I
So
can't participate.
So yeah,
'cause it's
look
breaking
up.
up so much.
Yeah, look just when you get a chance, because you'll be back, Noah. It's good to have you. Look up the Rio Grande River and zoom all the way in and look at how much it flows back and forth. Yeah, yeah. All right. So there you go. Pick the border. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is the part of that zero sum thinking, right? The idea that and he knows the errors, right? So he was smart enough to take a step back and not push further when he was making an error. For example, he was doing zero sum thinking, right? So in that zero sum thinking, if a person comes here that's documented, then that's undocumented, it hurts someone that's coming documented. But we know that the person who's coming undocumented is doing a job. It's actually helping everybody. And the person who's coming documented isn't going to have one less slot because those slots are set up in a way that's much fewer than the number of people we would allow in. Or that we can handle, right? We're not near the capacity of absorbing people and adding them to our productive capacity. So that was zero sum thinking. Mm-hmm. Right. Or either we build a North Korea style wall across the Rio Grande River, or we just let people come through. Furthermore, look at the sort of helplessness, right? He's like, I don't know. Actually, an argument from incredulity, I think, is the best argument there. He's like, I don't get the people who say a wall wouldn't help. Like, it's just, I don't believe that you could possibly have this where a wall wouldn't help. So that's an argument from incredulity that he was building on. And you'll also notice that I don't know about arguments from other rooms, but I know that I've listened to them before. And it seems that there's a Mott and Bailey where on one hand, it's we have to get rid of the immigration that's coming through here, and we have to make sure that all of the people who are here undocumented leave, right? And then you push back on that and like, well, we won't be able to pick the tomatoes in California. There will be no strawberries, and almonds will be planting more almond trees instead of going into cans. Um,
and it's like a big
Isn't-
flip a little bit.
Yeah, but that's a defensible argument, right?
Yeah.
We should know who's here. Defensible argument. We should put them
Yeah.
in box cars and put them in camps as we prepare to exit them. Not a defensible argument.
Yeah. But also getting rid of sanctuary cities, not a defensible argument. Yeah.
I mean, I think we
or at
should.
least not currently.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should be working
if we
towards an end.
document everyone,
Yes, there shouldn't be a
and
need
make it very easy
for sanctuary cities. And then here's the thing: if
It
everyone
should be like going to the DMV.
Yep.
You go. There we go. I got my license to work here for the next 6 months or whatever.
And then when we have wide open green cards, not citizenships, but green cards, and we know who's coming through, and then somebody doesn't follow those rules, you can be pretty sure they're a bad guy. Then you can treat them like they're actual bad guys, right? Then sanctuary cities would be intolerable because everyone that wanted to be here and wanted to be documented. All right. So those were a series of errors in thinking that we talked through. And at the end, I think, and he didn't want to stick with it, but I think we agreed that we should make the investment to better protect the border and overall help improve how we work with people crossing without documentation, right? Really, we should just be listening to the experts who tell us that this is what we need in order to get that job done.
Is this live or something?
Yeah, we're streaming.
Oh,
So, can I ask? I do understand you.
Yeah, let's try and get Mirko. You want to try and answer? Let's try it.
Sure.
I think there's no one else of our team. Yeah. Would you be open to trying to respond to somebody?
I was just saying I kind of understand what
I
you
will
guys
take
are
that as
saying
a
about
solid
the
no.
argument.
She leaves.
Not right
But-
now.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. In Sleek?
No.
Oh, okay. That's okay. There you go.
I can do it.
You can take another conversation then. Okay. All right. You're on the side of helping unpack the mistakes in thinking, yeah?
Mhm.
Very cool. All right, Mirko, go ahead and find us somebody for Recruit to talk to. Recruit, living up to his name.
Wait, didn't we have
Right.
somebody who was going to ask us? Yeah.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
we can.
we can hear you. Yep, good to go.
Kind of. I'm totally on the side of what you guys are saying, but do you not think that with a lot of the immigrants coming in, that there's going to be a lot of problems of like tax not being paid?
Can I answer
So
that?
is it? Oh, okay.
I mean,
Sorry, I just want to say that I think I don't have any facts behind this, but I think there are a lot of illegal immigrants that have been paying taxes since they've been here in anticipation of becoming legal citizens and not having to deal with the fact that they haven't. So I think there are a lot of actual illegal immigrants that pay taxes. I mean, I think that's
okay. Cool. Well, I'm totally not from. I'm from England, and it works totally differently.
How does it work in England?
Well, a lot of them aren't paying taxes.
Okay. Do you want them to pay taxes?
Well, of course.
Oh yeah.
It's then
Okay,
going
so-
to help
so-
do.
How do we know they're paying taxes?
So then you do want them into the system, right?
Yeah, I have no problem with
Because
them like
Okay, we agree with you.
coming
Sorry,
over.
there was
But
another
if you're
question.
going to, then
Yeah.
make sure you get
No,
your
I'll try.
citizenship, and you are then helping towards the country that you have chosen to move to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most immigrants who are staying long term, that is what they want. I think you agree with us in making getting a green card or citizenship much more accessible to immigrants. So you're not. I don't think you're disagreeing with us here.
No, but
I'm not,
I do
no,
think
sorry.
that there are people that are picking apples in the state of Washington that are paying taxes, even though
Yeah, just
they're
go
not
ahead and look
obligated
away.
to as being, citizens. They
Good
still do.
game.
Where do you get that
So,
information
How are
from?
they getting away with
I'm not sure. I just kind of thought it was there.
I'm
I
a
don't know.
different
I
type
don't
of
know. Maybe
immigrant
it's
in America.
probably
Maybe I can provide some context. I have paid my taxes every year that I've been here. Even though I make less than the minimum 12K, but because I'm an international student, I have to do that. And
what. How do you feel about
and
people that don't pay their taxes? Not illegal immigrants, but other people that don't pay their taxes.
Kill them.
Like the richest, some of the richest people in the world don't pay taxes.
That's
I mean, they pay little in taxes, right?
Personally, I
Capital
don't.
gains. Like there are people that make a ton of money all the time without actually making any money, but because of that, they are not taxed, right?
most
You
rich people.
you go to
I
you go to
understand.
job every day. You have to pay taxes. You invest in the stock market. You pay less. Why is that? Or Donald Trump, who's doesn't pay anything, right? Because he's
Right.
declares losses all the time because he's a super honest guy, right? I mean, there are people that are coming to this country that actually do pay taxes because at some point, if they want to become citizens, which a lot of
Yeah,
them
you have
actually
to.
do, they're not coming in here to like rape and pillage and kill Americans. They're so many
You're
people
gonna be on
are
your
coming here.
best behavior.
So many, well, but
Your
so many
absolute
people are
best
coming here because the United States is a great place to live, right? Because we offer that. It's an opportunity for people. And some people actually do pay taxes as illegal immigrants.
How do you know that?
10 years. I don't know, man. Maybe my this is
I
entirely
personally
possible.
don't know about
Isn't that
that.
kind of
Yeah,
a
my
confirmation
But
bias?
if we do
well,
want
no,
them,
I
if we
think
do
that
want
this
them,
is something that I had read like
Yeah, the stats
7
on
years
it.
ago. I don't
If
know.
we
if
do
it's
want
I mean,
them,
yeah, but it's a fair question.
yeah, if we want them to pay taxes, we would get them registered into the system, right?
well, but they also do pay a lot of taxes, just because we all pay taxes whether we're citizens or not. I mean, we
I
pay
don't.
sales
I
tax.
don't think
Wait,
that's
we're
true.
talking about income tax.
I
How would you
personally
pay
know some
income tax
illegal
as an
immigrants that
illegal
don't pay
immigrant?
taxes.
I don't know. In the state of Washington, where I live, we don't pay an income tax. It's crazy.
Every
But we
state
hire
does
them.
that?
Federal level or
Everywhere,
state?
everyone pays income
State
tax.
level. Yeah,
Yeah,
state level.
federal tax. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. In the state of Oregon, they don't have a sales tax. Well, they don't have a sales tax, but they pay an income tax. I mean,
State
it's a
income.
complicated subject when it comes to like how all of this works. Really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so does that answer your question? The real canon.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's just
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
my point was that it gets somewhat crippling to the country that they're moving to, and obviously, if they aren't paying taxes, it really isn't helping the country that they are hoping to then assimilate into.
Right,
And I do understand that there may be a big, because myself being from England, I've thought about moving to America, and it doesn't seem to be the easiest process.
Mm-hmm. So you
Yeah,
said
it's
they
not-
aren't
it's
helping.
not actually
You
that
said
easy.
they aren't
You're right.
helping the country if they aren't paying taxes.
I would say that they're probably
Wait, I
not
did?
helping
No.
the country
you,
if they're
this
not.
guy.
Yeah.
Real kind of drama.
Okay, so
I think that's the
I think
easiest way
so.
to
So
justify.
I think this whole tax paying thing, it's a two-way street. I don't know if how different England is, but correct me if I'm wrong, but in order to pay your taxes, you're registered into the system, or if you're not paying your taxes and you're in the system, they're gonna come for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're not in the system,
But you're in
if they
the
aren't
but
coming,
you're in the system
wait,
as
I'm
in the
talking.
legal. You're in the system. I'm sorry. Like you say, when you're in the system, that's when these things happen. But you're okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. Apologies. Go ahead.
No problem. So is it then the case that so if they aren't coming from you, it's because you're not in the system. And if you aren't in the system, how do you benefit from the taxes? So for example, your schooling and your healthcare and other stuff are free. If you're not in the system, because that's the only way I'm imagining you're not paying taxes unless your tax codes are very different, then you're not using healthcare, you're not using education, because who's going to school? Who's getting treatment from the doctors? Or does
Are
the
you
UK
talking
work
about
so differently
illegal
that you can
immigrants, or are you
still?
talking about like a lot of Americans right now?
I'm
actually?
talking about
We're talking about England.
Whoever is not
this
paying,
guy.
yeah, whoever is not paying taxes, how are they benefiting from the taxes?
Okay,
I think
so
that's
they
part
are.
of the notion of like we need to differentiate between taxes and social policy. These are two different things. Like
Yeah,
when
they
you
are
say
two different
even
things, but
Let's
even in
get the
England, if
camera
you don't
on
have any
John.
money.
Real, I think we've.
Oh shit! Is this a camera related thing? I don't know. I'm out.
okay, so
But my point being is
Go
that
ahead and kick him.
there are poor people.
Don't be bitter.
okay, right. So for instance, I am actually, let's say, English, but I live on an
Wait,
island
why did
called
he get
Jersey.
kicked?
Oh, because we're talking to the real Kuma over here, and he would not stop to let Kuma talk. And also, when he wouldn't stop, I decided to put him on so he could talk. And then he said he didn't want to do that. So if he doesn't want to do what we're doing here, he isn't allowed to be here.
And we were talking about Europe, not even close to America, and every time we brought that up, he would just bring up America again. So
Right.
he has no idea what we're talking about. He's
So-
off
And
topic.
we're talking to someone who would like to move to the United States, right? And what the experience of someone who's trying to come in a documented way is. We have someone else who has come to the United States in a documented way. I think it's a very valuable discussion. So
I mean,
anyway,
even I moved
Breaking up.
to England for
Breaking up.
2 years, and it took me 6 months just to be able to. Even though I'm a UK citizen, it took me 6 months just to get a number so that I could work over there. Now, if I tried to do that before getting the number, they really wouldn't have liked that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So
Same,
I do understand, like, as I say, with other foreigners coming into countries, I do understand their trouble. Like, you know, there does need to be an easier way of it being settled.
Yeah, and I think I could be wrong here, but whenever people oppose that, I just think they don't like the color of the people who are coming. Because truthfully, making it easier to legally immigrate would solve a lot of the problems with immigration. The problems, quote unquote, that they're talking about.
Yeah. That might be a big jump in logic, though.
I'm listening.
Going on?
who said that would be a big
Eyes
jump
are
in
on
logic?
you now, man.
I said that.
Yeah, please tell
Somebody
us.
blocked
I think if you would
I
like
don't
to.
know this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know the specific fallacy it would be, but
Mhm.
you know, he is kind of jumping the gun on saying, well, it might be because of
It sounded
racial-
like he was attributing to an entire group of people, right?
Right.
Something fundamental to them, and he was doing so by attacking their character.
So would
So
that
it's
be
an attribution error
ad hoc?
and an
Oh,
ad
yeah.
hominem. That's right.
Ad hominem. That's what I meant.
Or to the man, or a personal insult. I don't like all this Latin. Like, we don't need that. It makes it sound fancier than it is. It's really just persuasive ways that people talk that don't make a lot of sense when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Actually, I'd like to write down that claim, recruit. Does anyone else want to take recruit on and not, or I'll do it. Or,
I
yeah,
can. I mean,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. A slight difference. Let me move. Turn
Mhm.
right here.
Oh,
Sorry.
awesome.
Oop. Close enough.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say that. It's definitely almost like the learned hopelessness of that. He was talking about where you're considering that there is no way to document these people because it takes so long for other people to be documented, usually. And it's like, we could easily document people. Like that's not the issue. Like, when we hear that it takes, like, 10 years for the documentation to happen, it's like a learned hopelessness of there's no way to do it quicker, and there's clearly quicker ways to do it, like DMV or like mail-in ballots and things like that, where it's like there's systems in place to catch these people. And not catch, but I mean reach out to them and get them to document themselves.
Why does it take 10 years?
It shouldn't. It's bureaucracy and it's nonsense. Yeah.
Not enough judges.
Does anybody know the steps that could point that out as to why 10 years? 10 years of a process happens?
Well, like he said, a lot of it is the judges, a lack of judges. We had a bipartisan deal to hire like 1,000 more judges, because once they're processed, they're let go until their trial date, which, because of the backlog, can literally take 5-10 years. So they desperately needed more judges, and it was a bipartisan deal, but the orange guy squashed it because he thought it would be bad for him politically if the Democrats got credit for doing an immigration bill. So for the past year, instead of having this bill that would have all these judges that would help the problem, we have not had that bill.
Are you talking justice? Are you talking about just asylum cases?
No, just all people entering the country. They're legal. Most people entering are legal now. There are very few illegals. It's actually more advantageous now for people crossing over to do it legally because of that 10-year wait. Our backlog is so horrible.
I guess that's whenever someone talked about the 10-year wait, that's what I've always understood the conversation was about. People who are here,
right?
They legally came into the country for whatever reason, and they're applying for citizenship, and the process itself takes 10 years. I don't even know.
That's what he just said. It's the judges. It's the lack of judges to see these people, to make a court date, because there's such a backlog. I don't know. I explained it a couple of times. That's the main holdup.
So it takes them 10 years to get in front of a judge.
That's what we're saying. Yeah, that's what the bill. It was going to hire hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new judges, not to mention more border patrol police, just to kind of catch the people. Yeah, it was great, and it was written largely by Republicans. It was very much a bipartisan bill, leaning towards Republican. But
the bill is signed,
if
the bill is signed, what would the timeline look as far as how fast they can get those new judges?
I heard it would go down from 10 years, 5 years, 10 years. It would go down to about 6 months, something like that.
No, I was saying after the bill is signed, how fast can they get those judges on ground and active?
Oh,
I
don't know.
I don't know, but hopefully quickly. I mean, it would mean if they pass the bill, it would mean they've budgeted the money. So I guess to get judges in, it's not a trivial process. So it takes some bureaucratic time to make it happen. But a lot of it would have happened already. It's been almost a year since we had that bill.
Like they didn't have judges lined up, so they probably have to find. They probably have to find judges who maybe want to apply for that particular position.
I'm not sure why you're hung up on that step of the process.
So,
it's just
the only reason I'm saying
question. Go ahead.
The only reason why I'm saying that is because I've always, when talked about immigration, everybody gives like these broad. It takes 10 years. It takes this year and years. I've never heard anybody walk through the process like, okay. They put in the paperwork requesting for, citizenship, and then it takes them this long to get to this point. And then this is what happens, and then it takes them then background checks or whatever. Nobody's ever been filling in the blanks. You just have this.
They have. I mean, that information is easily available all over. That's not true.
I know you guys don't play videos here, but I recommend looking up if you have HBO, or if not, it might be on YouTube. John Oliver did. I don't know if you ever watched Last Week Tonight. Probably not.
He breaks it down step by step.
It's a really good show. He does step by step, and he did a show on immigration because he himself is an immigrant. He's from England, and
I wasn't particularly talking about
another resource. There's a
lot of does go through. How everyone says come here the right way, is
Yeah.
what the right always likes to say, and so he breaks down what that means and what coming here the right way is. And I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's a very interesting piece. It's the second half of the show, so it's probably only about 15 minutes or so.
I also recommend a podcast.
I was thinking
called
more of
Ezra
whenever we have
Klein.
conversations in these rooms and stuff like that. I mean, of course, I could go online and I could probably get step by step. I could probably Google tell me step one to finish.
Yeah.
What
But
does
something
it
like
look
I don't know. Again, if
But
you
I'm
watch
saying
it all,
amongst
he has a very good
conversations
way
in
of breaking
rooms-
it down and explaining it,
Yeah.
and obviously it's funny and it's very smart and well done. If you want one day when I host a room, I'll try and find it and see if I can find it on YouTube.
I would also be curious as to what
just
the
so I'm
process
clear,
is
I
if
know that
you're
I
in
can look
asylum.
online.
Then why don't you look
seeking legal
online if
asylum.
you know you can educate yourself about it? Why don't
You
you
missed the first
educate
part.
yourself
I
about
think you missed
it's
the first
not,
part.
It's not rocket science. I don't know why you're.
It's
Well, I
okay.
have a
It
degree.
feels like you're blaming the world for not.
I have a
educating
degree.
It's
you.
okay, Richard.
I have a degree in rocket science.
Yeah,
I have a degree in rocket science.
That's fun, Mix. So
All I said was when in
Mhm.
conversations like this, okay, I didn't say it was or was not on the internet. In
But
conversations
the
like this,
camera on Mix.
generally what happens, people say is, it's a 10-year deal. It takes 10 years. It takes 5 years. This takes 4 years. Nobody ever says the reason it takes 5 years, like somebody to actually explain or,
Yeah, and
break it down or what. So, because
That's
that might
right.
open up other conversations. If somebody was
That's
able
right,
to
Max.
break down start to finish, there's a lot of things in between that might start conversations that we could have.
So right now,
I was just saying that.
Mix, even
Yes.
people who are getting citizenship because they're getting married,
Yes.
right? I think we all recognize if you marry an American citizen, you probably
Yes.
should be able to become an American citizen. There's a 3 million person backlog on doing because it all goes through the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So that bureaucracy itself isn't fully set up. And they're saying, they need judges to adjudicate these things, but they need the entire system set up better. And what happened was, for a while, we had a reduction in the number of people coming to the United States. Right now, we have as many people here that are undocumented as we did under George W. Bush. So it's not some crazy high number, but it went down a lot during the 2008 downturn and during Obama. And then following on with Trump, that didn't go up all that much with him. And now the economy is doing spectacularly. And we're back to where we were back when the economy was doing spectacularly.
Sure.
But we got rid of the system in between here and there because we didn't need it.
Sure.
They just weren't as many people.
I mean, and even with the overwhelming number of people that they have to process, I know it's not. You fill out this paperwork and then you wait to go to court and then they stamp you're good. There's a lot of red tape in between there. Maybe those are the things. Because I agree, it should not take 10 years for somebody to process and become a citizen. So maybe the in between things is what we really should be looking at and make an issue about some of the red tape issues. And I'm willing to bet, because we're talking about bureaucracies, there's all kinds of red tape things in between.
You are asking exactly the right question to actually make a difference. I guarantee you there are activist organizations for the rights of immigrants that are talking about what they need done. And if you want those sorts of things passed, you have to be an informed group of people that call up your local representative and your state senator and senators, right? The senators that representing in Washington say, hey, this group says this needs to be done. I want you to do that thing. You send them an email and then 5 other people, they'll respond.
Well, one of their aides will respond, but they will respond, yeah.
And then you start getting pressure because you're supporting that group. And this is how civic engagement works. You join a special interest committee, right? You join that special interest group, and then you vote with that special interest group. And then the reason that your congressman does what the special interest group wants is because you're willing to vote based on the interests.
Sure.
And we just
and
don't.
You don't even
people.
need a group. I mean, you could write to your congressman or senator, and actually, but having a group shows a little bit of leverage, show of force.
It does
instead of just one person.
And if
they're more likely to listen to a group.
If you can join a group that already exists for something you care about, that's great. If you
Yes.
can organize a new group for something that isn't being given voice to,
Yes, yes.
I agree with you, Mix.
Absolutely.
Getting into the details and then getting people
Yes.
together around particular details. And you can do this, find a pothole that needs to be filled in your community.
Yeah.
Get some people in that community to say, hey, let's start a letter writing campaign or go to a city meeting to get this done. Because just a small thing that can get done fast, like a pothole, will start building value for the community that you're building. And the next thing you know, your
100% I
community
agree.
has more voice. And that makes, I think, it's a great idea.
100% I agree.
But, I wonder why we don't teach people the civic engagement. What do you think, Mix?
People aren't interested.
Yeah.
People aren't interested because that would take too much time away from their TikTok and what other things. And they don't see the reward, the immediate reward, which really is an issue. I think these days people want instant reward for the things that they do.
I would say people actually are willing to make big sacrifices to do big things. They just don't. I think it's this idea that learned helplessness. I can't make a difference. Things just happen, right?
Right.
And I think we stopped teaching
I had that
people
conversation
civics.
with Rubinator. Yeah, I had that conversation with Rubinator one time in another room. Yeah, you can get involved. Don't say nothing can be done. You can get involved and you can get some things done. Just depends on how do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? You're a wolf or a sheep. But anyway, the overall point, I know we got kind of sidetracked. My overall point is one day in one of these rooms, I would like maybe have a conversation where we're talking about the specific details in between point A to point B. And there's probably a lot of things that we can come to some agreements on, being from different sides of the aisle. I bet you. With all that red tape, this is bureaucracy.
Could I not immigrate?
That's all. Food for thought.
Could I not immigrate to America, say with a female, get her pregnant, and would my child then not have the rights to be an American? Would that stop us from having the rights?
You would not become a citizen at that point. You wouldn't have the rights of a citizen, right? But you would have a child that was a citizen, and if you were deported with your child, they would have a right to return.
Okay, it works differently where I'm from. Okay,
yeah, that's actually how Melania's parents got here.
There's also there somewhere, I can't remember the exact point, but somewhere within the process of achieving your green card, and you don't even have to have the green card yet. There's a status that you have to have, and you have to have an A number, and you can join the military. So, like, people would come in. I was a recruiter. Some people would come in to join the Army, mostly Hispanics. Were working on becoming citizens, them and their family. So I'd have to take them down to INS, and there's a form that we gave them, and they filled it out. And then when they filled out the form, it told us if they've reached that point in the processing of getting their green card, not just getting their green card, not even get citizenship yet, they could join the Army. And then because they're joining the Army, they would get their citizenship accelerated. Yeah, them and their wife and kids will get their citizenship accelerated. Yeah. Food for thought.
I think
there's also a way if you work
that's
for
a good
certain
idea.
companies.
No, please, Rube.
Yeah, no, I know if you work for certain companies. I think, for example, I was just thinking about the John Oliver bit. I think because he was working for Comedy Central at the time, they were like trying to I can't think of the word. It's escaped me, but they were trying to help him get, because they were going to sponsor. That's the word. They wanted to sponsor his citizenship. And there's somebody on I listened to Howard Stern, and there's one of his staff writers also was Canadian and trying to get his citizenship to stay in the United States. And he almost had to go back to Canada because his work visa was running out, but he was still working the show, and they were trying to help him. And I think they finally did help him get status. So also certain companies, and a lot of big computer companies that want software engineers and things like that, and programmers.
Yeah. They got pool.
Try to hire people.
Some people have pool. They
bring them to
can make things happen faster.
Help them get citizenship.
Yeah. It's not just about pull, but the reason. For example, we have no problem at all bringing people in that want to be professors. And it seems the whole system's just fine with more PhDs coming in to be professors.
They're coming in with visas, or they're coming in with visas, and then they apply for citizenship.
That's right. And it still takes them 5-10 10 years to get citizenship, but they don't have to wait for a green card, right? They get the right to come and teach. As well they should, right?
Right. Yep.
It's what we want.
I think most people would agree with that.
Yep. So, I don't know if you were here with this conversation with Noah, but I don't know what side of the aisle you are, Mix, but I think
I'm on the right side.
Yeah, I think most. So
I'm a conservative.
So you're the wrong side. Very good.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
So it would seem to me most people agree almost universally on the principles and values around immigration.
Yes.
And then the question is what's actually happening, and people live in different worlds. Some people live in a world where people who are here legally are eating cats and dogs. All right.
Yes.
Hard not to call that racist, but that's
And mice.
and they're not.
And roaches.
It's not happening. Like, this is just not a thing. But if you were in that world, you'd understand why they'd be so upset. Right?
Yes.
Like, I understand why
immigrants?
No, the people that are like angry about legal immigration if you think people are coming here to eat your pets, right? Like, it's obscene, it's not true, but if you believe that, I understand where you're coming from. I understand why people on January 6th were attacking the Capitol. The president said the election was stolen. If you didn't know, the president was a child who can't handle losing and has said that everything he's ever lost was rigged, to include competitions on TV. Like, if you didn't know that and you just thought, well, this is a good man who's fighting for me and he's telling me that my democracy is falling, why wouldn't you go?
But what if you know that?
What do you mean? Oh, if you know that, then obviously, you know, this guy's a grifter and you're being grifted. So why would you show up to do this unless you just really hate the country and you're like, I think we can finally knock this thing out? But I don't think that's what people were thinking.
My nephew went down there, and that's a what we can have a whole conversation around January 6th and how we got there. I don't know. We were talking about immigration. I bet I'm saying all I'm saying is the reason why I opened up that question. I mean, I know you can go on Google and you can find out, but I thought maybe it might open if somebody knew, like, hey, you got to do this, this, or this. It might open up some conversation. And I bet you, like I said, we could probably find some bipartisan agreements on some of the red tape that needs to go. This is not needed. This is slowing down the process.
And
I agree. It should take 10 years for somebody.
Here's how rules and bureaucracy get added. When there's a mistake, right? When there's a mistake in the outcome,
I was in the military for 22 years. I know exactly.
Right? And so you can't wrap your hands in your shirt to keep them warm. Now, you have to wrap your hands in your shirt to keep them warm because you're not allowed to put them in your pockets. Right? It makes no sense. You're less able to move your hands. But the rules are the rules. And so,
well, that's just it. The rules are the rules.
And someone somewhere fell over with their hands in their pocket. And now they're never going to let that happen again. And this is the scariest thing I see about the immigration conversation. It's called the attribution error, like attributing to all immigrants anything any one of them does. Like, if you do that, then now you're
generalized statement. I get it.
Yeah. It's a generalization to a group of people because of the actions of one or a few people, right? So that's a very common way to make an argument, but it's clearly not true. It just seems to resonate with people. So if we can stop engaging in that attribution error, then we can say, well, yeah, some people are going to get through and they're going to be the wrong people and it's going to be a mistake and someone is going to die. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of someone's are going to come in legally.
What should we do about that?
Where
do you think we're at a point where there's no way for us to control our border? We just have to figure out a way to deal with what's happening.
Well,
right now, it's sort of facilitate what's happening now because there's no way we could organize this thing any better.
So let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Freakonomics?
I just asked you one.
Oh
I
yeah,
just asked you
no,
one.
for sure.
You can't answer a question with a
Oh, yeah.
question.
Yeah, the answer is
you can't answer a question with a question.
The answer is very straightforward. You can stop people from crossing over by changing the incentive structure. So if everyone that was employing somebody under a alias social security number if every employer was charged $100,000 per person, there'd be no jobs, and no one would come because there'd be no jobs. We could solve it overnight with that one rule, right? So yeah, we could solve it.
So a financial leverage.
Yeah, 100%, and on the side of the people making money off of the undocumented immigrant.
Well, if you come up with
That's not happening, is it?
If you come up with the financial, one of the things that I learned in the Army, I was up on some of the senior NCOs. The guys at the bottom, man, they're so clever. You could come up with a policy. Don't do this, don't do that no more. And not from now on, you need to do this, you need to do that. Man, them jokers are always clever and reading between the lines and figuring out how they could do it that circumvents the policy. So that's my concern with if you make the financial part of it leverage. I can't help myself but think that those people that might be facing that situation will find the loopholes to get away with it because that's what people do.
We've found a way to pass laws and make a difference that busted child trafficking, that busted human trafficking. We ended legalized slavery. We ended monopolies. Like, we've been able to be very effective. We've seen the level of wealth inequality that we do right now twice before during the Gilded Age, and we redistributed the wealth in a way that allowed us to play the game of capitalism again, and we did it again after World War II. It isn't communism. It's actually a necessary part of capitalism to redistribute that wealth.
I'm not suggesting it's communism. I'm suggesting that I agree with you. We have a very well put.
Yeah, my point is that those things worked even at a time when the government was less capable of doing things because we had less ability to keep eyes on people, and for things that are incredibly monetarily incentivized. So I'm not willing to just give up the idea that we can't regulate, businesses to stop something we don't like because, it's hard to do. We seem to have been able to do it quite a bit.
I'm not willing to do that as well. But my point is, I think we need to look at ways. We need to look at forethought. You already know that they're going to come up with some sort of loophole to do it. In fact, they're doing it already. They got people, they're already breaking the law. Well, currently nobody's really enforcing it. Different. But if we did go to enforcement, like you said, then they'll figure out a way to get around that. I'm not saying that means we shouldn't do nothing.
Right, but you're right. We should think through the first, second, and third order consequences of any laws that we pass and the kind of ways people will try to game it.
Yeah. Maybe if we could play the ball game that far out, knowing that they're going to do that, then we might be a little more proactive than reactive.
Hey, Mix, it's not like no one ever thought of this. They already did. That's what the lobbyists are there for.
Why aren't they doing it?
The lobbyists are there to make sure that the bill that everyone likes that gets passed doesn't hurt my guy, so I can cut out a way for him to get around it. That's why the lobbyists are there.
Because we have laws and executive orders reference to the border and immigration. The question I ask: how come they're not all being enforced?
So enforcement's
Can I take this one a little bit?
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
Yes. I was going to say that the main reason is that Tyson Chicken and farms and factory farms and stuff, they used the low wage labor for profit, pure profit.
Right.
So their lobbyists don't want it.
Wait. A company is trying to make profit? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's possibly through almost shady, illegitimate means.
We can't have that. We can't have a company trying to make.
All right, go ahead and remove Batman. He's just
that
yelling.
Part is good, but you teeter-totter in the line of slave labor.
Batman. Yeah. Talk to The corporations are
I
people
want
now,
corporations
so
to
you
make money and do
cannot
things.
actually
You're kind of
prosecute them
teeter-tottering
in a
on.
way
Yeah, you're teeter-tottering
that
on
they're
they're slave labor.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely
That's
slave
what
labor.
it is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so.
Not slave labor. Yeah, that's a little harsh to say slave labor, but it's underfunded.
If you're not if you have an employee that there's laws in place and you're paying that you're paying that employee not in accordance with the state law, the federal law, and the amount in accordance with state and federal law, then essentially that person is a slave labor to you. You have
to you, but here
I don't think so.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's what I did.
On me.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
my agent.
So
I need
I'm
to talk to my
thinking-
agent before I get in front of the camera. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Someone, correct me if.
Go for it.
Uh-oh. Did he freeze?
No, I scared him. I said his name and he got scared.
I think the point where Murkoff was saying is that some of these things aren't enforced because there are people like the chicken farms who are making money off of cheap labor. That's slave labor. They know it. That's slave labor.
Yeah, corporations aren't moral.
Right.
So
right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it might require a lot of knowledge on like stuff like economic stuff, but the reason you as a Mexican or a Jamaican or a Haitian would come here, even if you're gonna get paid less than the minimum wage, it's because it's still the best option you have. I understand that from an American perspective, you're like, oh, this is hell, and yeah, relatively it is. But if there wasn't, if you could find better employment, then you would not come here. You wouldn't. There's no reason for you to leave your family to make a shittier wage. And if that is the case, that you come here and you're like, okay, there are no jobs, you just go home, right?
Yeah,
so I think
I think everything you said was great. I think, and actually, what you're doing is you're answering the question as to what she just said. Why the lobbyists and companies are letting people that are supporting people come across the border illegally. The point that I was making is it's like a double crime here, isn't there? Something going on here. Like a person comes into the country illegally, that's a crime. Then they start working. Some employee hires them under the table or less than what they were supposed to pay, or not by the state or federal standards. Now we got two crimes going on. Why aren't we going after these people? Why are we just letting crime happen?
Okay,
if I
you
may,
want to talk, but I was saying that that is what is being proposed here, that we go after the people who have a lot to lose, because I think under the current system, if you do hire someone illegally and like someone reports it, then it's like the
You can get into a lot of trouble. You can get into a lot of trouble, pay big fines, but nobody. That's the problem. It's not being enforced.
Even the employers.
Yeah, the employers would get in a lot of trouble for employing and housing, which they do. Housing illegal immigrants or your workers, they would get in trouble, but nobody's enforcing it. That's the question. That's the question we're asking. It's not being enforced. Why?
Well, if we're talking about the migrants, they're protected and they're not illegal. If we're talking about the migrants,
there is a lot of migrant work that's protected, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't understand.
The problem is you're prioritizing the migrants over the American worker who was born here or is a citizen here, whatever way, and they can't get a job because the migrants are taking less money.
Right. So a couple things. You know what? Over here, looks like Ruben has an answer.
Wait, can someone please explain what protected means? Sorry, quickly, 10 seconds.
Wait, what means?
Protected.
The protected status of like the Haitians and stuff like that.
What does that mean?
It's
they're allowed to be here.
Yeah, they're treated as legals.
Okay,
They went through the process.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
because
gotcha.
Venezuela and Haiti, we have an agreement that we're going to take their...
Like somebody getting a work visa or a student
got you.
visa.
Thank you. I just wanted to know.
Cuba too. Dry foot policy. You come from Cuba, you get to America, you get to be here.
Yeah. That was established a long time ago.
Ruben.
Yeah, so but that's just Cuba.
That's crazy.
We can't hear you, Ruben.
Yeah, Ruben, we can't hear you if you're talking.
I can't hear him.
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize because I was eating.
Yeah.
No, I muted myself because I was eating earlier. It's cliche, but it's true that that most immigrants that are coming here to work are doing the jobs that most Americans won't do. My in-laws own an apple farm in upstate New York, and every season Jamaicans come here, and all they do is he gives them some trailers to sleep in, and they get up and they work all day and they make money, which, by the way, they go and spend and put into our taxes, which is another story. Just to live on. The rest they send back to home, and they work and they do these jobs, and they're hard jobs. They're hard labor jobs, and Americans aren't willing to do that. I have one of his sons has a masonry company, does the same thing. He picks up illegals to do a lot of the work, the cement stuff like that, because he can't get reliable Americans. He's tried.
That's part of the argument.
I disagree.
That's part. Let me say this real quick. Let me say this real quick.
That is.
I don't think it's the Americans who will do the work. I think it's the pay.
Yes,
exactly.
I was going to say that.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
That was a part of the argument from the South, who didn't want to stop slavery because the production of the cotton. They would pick the cotton and send it up to the North, and the North would manufacture it, of course, whatever the case might be. And the argument was, how the hell are we going to continue this operation that's pouring all this money not only into our state, our entire country? How are we going to replace that? And somehow, life self-corrected. Look where you are.
Well, it didn't self-correct by deporting all of the people that were doing the job, right?
No, but what happened was when they earned money and sharecropped, then they still did the same job they did when they were slaves. They still
those people didn't come into the country under the same
paid.
circumstances either. Yeah,
right. So I think we can all agree it would be better if the folks that are here doing the jobs that we do. Don't say it's what Americans won't do. Literally, we don't have enough Americans to do all of those jobs. If you take the 12 million people who are undocumented and you took them out of the system, that's 12 million people who would now need to take those jobs, and we don't have 12 million people looking for a job. We have less than.
The question is, all 12 million of them in a job. I mean, I wouldn't look at the numbers on that, but I think it would self-correct, like what Tiber is saying. They can undercut. They can undercut and pay the illegal alien $3.50 an hour. That's what he said. It's the pay.
That's right.
You have to pay an American based on
more money,
the state federal law. Yeah, so you're breaking the law. I mean, like,
so beyond the minimum wage, beyond the minimum wage, right? There's a amount that you have to pay to get enough people to do the job. So
if it's hard.
Right. No matter what it is, you have to pay a certain amount to get people to do that job. True. Right now, how much more do you think you'd have to pay a teenager working at Jack in the Box to go pick apples? Right?
A lot of money.
I don't disagree with that. I think it would, and that it would take some time, but essentially in time, the economy will stabilize. It'll self-correct.
Mix.
Let me say this. Your apples will be
$5. Let me say this.
Your apples will be expensive.
As apples go up in price.
Capitalism.
That's it. So that's what it boils down to. We're willing to allow lawlessness so that we don't pay $5 for an apple. So we've allowed this thing to go this far.
Actually,
hold on. Let me say something real quick.
We could solve the problem without having lawlessness and still have the labor here, right? We just document the people that are here.
Yeah, why haven't we?
Exactly.
It sounds like you're justifying slavery. This is probably how people justified slavery.
It's not slavery. Yeah. Okay, wait. Do you remember what I said a few seconds ago? If the Jamaicans that are picking apples or Mexicans or whatever, if there were better opportunities where they came from, they wouldn't come here. So it is better for them.
We already agree on that, Recruit. Everybody agrees on that.
Okay, so everyone who loses here then?
Not a point.
We have to take care of our own at home first.
Who loses here?
We're not going to lose. We're not going to
losing. Okay, if we make the immigrants here who are working on our farms, if we make them documented and they work less because it is the best opportunity for them, who loses here?
Yeah, exactly.
They win because they get to provide for themselves and their family back home. We win because apples are still cheap. Who's losing here?
I think what he's saying is more
Americans who would not pick those
point-
apples, unless they cost $30, and if we make them cost $30, then they cost $30 and we lose again.
And you can't
Okay,
say
so
that
we
with
still need to be
100%
paid.
certainty. Yeah, you can't say that with 100%
We still need to be paid.
certainty.
You sound like
Well,
someone who would justify
hold on, hold
slavery
on, hold
in
on, hold on,
1800s.
hold on,
know.
hold on, hold on,
It
hold on.
doesn't know
We're
that
getting
he
two
is.
Someone
conversations
loses
at
in
once
slavery.
against
What?
one person.
Sorry.
So Ty, if you want to be on the table, then
And then I'll go
Mix has
next.
had some. Yeah, that's right. So we'll start with Ty, and then Recruit will have a back and forth with Ty. And remember to
Okay.
come back to the mistakes in thinking. I think you'll notice a few of those as you go forward.
Yeah, I was just saying we got to take care of
You've been taking
home
notes, huh?
first before we worry about taking care of people from another country. We have to take care of people from this country, and like I said twice, the argument you're making, I can imagine the arguments back in the 1700s when the 1800s when
Even the
the South was
1700s.
trying to justify slavery. But who's
Mhm.
going to do it? Who's going to pick the cotton? We can't get rid of them. And then they went to a war. That's what your argument kind of reminds me of.
Okay, I think what I want to tackle here is first you saying about the slavery thing. So with the slavery comparison is there was a clear loser in slavery, and it was us. Who's the loser here?
What?
There,
Can
so
you
I was
explain
saying
that?
that
You mean the Confederacy
no one.
or the
I
Union?
was saying that no one loses if we make the illegal immigrants documented, because they win because this is the best opportunity for them, and we win because, or well, you guys, I'm not American yet. You guys win because you get to have your food and your whatever illegal immigrants contribute. Well, they would be illegal at the
Yes.
time, but it would still be as cheap. So who's losing here?
Yeah, but you know what?
The-
Maybe
the
those people
people who
want to
would-
hold on,
aspire to
people
be
who would-
something more than a fruit picker.
Hey.
On, Mix.
It
We
would
got to
be-
go
Oh,
to Ty,
I
and
thought
then
I was next. Oh,
well,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna finish
I'll be real
the
quick,
conversation
Mix.
with Ty, then go. Yeah.
I'll be quick.
Yeah.
It'll be the people who demand to be paid what they're worth, and they would do that job.
Okay,
Those are the people
so
that lose out because you're hiring the immigrants, and they're like, "Well, I'm not taking that job for this amount of money. What you're paying the immigrants."
Right.
They lose out on an opportunity.
well, that is zero-sum thinking, because when immigrants come here and they work, they actually contribute to the economy, so there's more money to go around. But what I'd say here is that remember, so you can probably pay, I don't know how much they get paid, but let's say you're paying a Jamaican $12 an hour to bend down, break their back in the sun to pick apples. If you tell 18, 19, 20-year-old to do that, they'll say, yeah, I can do it, and then they'll quit because it's hard fucking work, right? And it's not worth it. They can go work fast food, they can make more money easier, or the same amount of money easier. But a Jamaican is like $12 an hour. Fuck yeah. I can take care of myself, and I can send that home, and I can send my child to school back home. So it's a win for them. And but here's the thing.
Well,
If we
hold
did
on.
pay
Let's
this-
go with that
yeah.
statement. Don't jump to something else first.
He's preaching.
That what
I know
you
he's
said,
like
you
three
stop when you
subjects
stop.
over there.
what you said is not a true statement. Jamaicans will do it. Americans won't. You don't know that. I would if I was 18, 19. I'd go break my back
What up,
for
guys?
the right amount of money.
I don't think so.
I make money
No.
breaking my back. What? I make
I don't
money right
believe you.
now.
I'm sorry.
I've
Yeah.
done it. I've done it. What do you mean you don't believe me? We're all
So-
human, right? I can do it, and
Okay,
I've
so
done
are
it,
you
and I'm still
are you
doing it.
denying? Are you denying here that you have to pay someone a certain amount of money for them to do a job? The harder it is to do that job, or whatever cons of the job, the more you have to pay them, or they just won't do it.
If you're paid what the job is worth, then it will get done. If you're paying
You're right.
people,
I agree.
yes. If you're paying people
Okay.
under what the job is worth, and you're bringing immigrants in and they're taking the jobs, well, that's not the American way.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let's
Not
say
anymore,
we-
anyway.
Oh, you're not waving at me?
Let's say the market decides that okay, if we want Americans to pick these apples, then we have to pay them twice as much because it's hard work. What's gonna happen to the price of the stuff that we are demanding of illegal immigrants? So building, construction, and farming. What's gonna happen to the price of the labor there and the end goods, the end products from these industries?
You kind of
Whatever happens to it, it's not worth the integrity of the country. It's not
Okay,
worth
so
it.
what's So what's gonna happen is that the price of these things are gonna go up,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And if the price of them goes up, then the money that you made it might cancel out because no 18-year-old can get a $20 job picking apples, but now
I go?
apples cost so much that the money that the increase in money it's where did it go, right?
Yeah.
Additionally, what one last go here? There's clearly black and white thinking. Either we follow all of the rules exactly as they are, right? And we have integrity, or we don't have integrity, and therefore we have lost the soul of the nation, right? There's just this stark black and white argument. And the truth is, we could just document the people that are doing the work. It wouldn't change, as Recruit keeps saying, the price of that labor. And we wouldn't go without people to either. And you know what? If we did have enough people to pick apples because we rose those prices, those people who went to pick apples wouldn't be doing some other job, right? You have to agree because we got nearly full employment. If we took 12 million people out of the economy, we would then have 12 million people who aren't producing something. And if we have those farms covered, then they're over here in some sort of manufacturing or service job that they're not doing. So that means, the prices will go up, but with less stuff being produced. That's the definition of inflation. So it makes everyone poorer.
Okay, so if I could,
let's go on to Mix and let Recruit continue.
Yeah,
on.
to both of you were saying. So the aim is we're talking about immigrants. There, let's just use the ones that work in the fields, picking crops and all that kind of stuff, right? And sort of the aim is eventually to get them to become citizens in this country. So when they become citizens, then the law applies to them. You can't pay them $3 an hour anymore. Now you have to pay them at what they're supposed to be paid in accordance with the law, and then they'll know it. And because they know it, they're going to negotiate, and they'll be able to negotiate, just like those union guys did. Okay, collective bargaining works really well, especially when you're thinking about, well, if they all walk off, and Mexicans are pretty good about unity. If they all walk off, who's going to pick my fruit? Well, I certainly can't hire any Americans because they won't do it for that dollar. So so they have the leverage. They can do that when they're citizens. When they're not citizens, they don't have that leverage. So it feeds into the idea that we need to keep them as non-citizens so that we can treat them the way that we treat them with their pay. Right? Does that make sense?
Okay, that's a pretty good argument. But
hold on. I was gonna. There was another part.
Hold on.
No, there was another.
You got that point, and Recruit. I think Ruben would like to talk, if that's okay with you.
I just have one last point.
You'd like to talk?
It mixed. What we do is we go one.
Okay.
Me?
Yeah.
What I think would happen here is if you're like, okay, the Jamaican, they become a citizen now or a green card holder or whatever, and they're like, okay, now I'm demanding $15 for this job, right? So and then they're like, this job doesn't pay $15. So I'm guessing you believe that the Jamaican would say, okay, I have my family back home depending on me, and I have to work. But I deserve $15 an hour now, so I would rather not do that. I'm gonna starve and I'm gonna let my family die. Or would they say, okay, this is the best job I can do, and they would do it?
No, see, you're just you're feeding right into what I'm saying. Like the idea, they have the leverage. They back them into a corner so they can pay them these low wages, so they essentially can be slave labor. Now
they're not backed into the corner. They chose
the purpose of.
And it's definitely not essentially slave labor. 1,000 times over, they're coming of their own volition and can leave anytime they want.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, you can go back to Jamaica.
What do we call sweatshops?
But let's go over to Ruben.
I didn't get to finish.
Oh, go ahead.
Wait,
I'm sorry. Someone else will go, not me.
What you're saying, so the whole purpose of collective bargaining, even if they're not in a union, the whole purpose of collective bargaining, we band together because we have the leverage. We're all going to get this. You have to make sacrifices, just like the union guys. They made sacrifices, knowing that or hoping with 100% certainty that they will get what they need. But if you don't, you're just going to get shit on. But you have the guys picking the fruit at that point are legal citizens. They have the leverage.
Yeah,
you can't. You're not going to fire them all.
Not during
Go ahead,
harvest.
Ruben.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my general question to this whole topic is, what are the negative effects of undocumented citizens the way they are now?
Asking me?
In general, anyone.
Okay. So the one of the things that the other point that I was going to make, I believe that we clearly have an immigration issue in this country. I mean, either the laws, the enforcement, something is really, really wrong and messed up. If it takes people 10 years, that's part of the problem as well. But where I come from it is, we have to start somewhere. No, you can't start from a position of allowing people to illegally come into the country and then illegally work in the crop fields, and then we'll try to build it from there. You have to start on a foundation, first of all, that has some integrity to it. Otherwise, you're playing whack-a-mole. And that's kind of, it seems like what we're doing. We're playing whack-a-mole. Like, okay, we gotta go. Start from the foundation, build it right. That's why those laws are there.
No. You have to mix them up. Listen to my question again. What are the negative aspects of undocumented citizens coming into this country?
Breaking the law.
Why is it bad?
No,
why do we need to stop it?
They're breaking the law.
That's not why. What you guys should say is that
comes
it's
by
decreasing
American citizens crossing the
wages,
border
right?
and people through planes.
Well, laws are not, they don't just apply to a certain person. Laws go apply to everybody. So if my country or my federal government or my state is saying that it's okay for people to come into the country illegally, well, why shouldn't I break the law? I'm going to break the law and steal some stuff because I'm struggling to pay bills and get my family feed. That's what they're doing to break the law. So I'm going to go.
Okay, but again, that's not answering the question.
Either. It breaks the law, Rubenator. That's what
it breaks the law.
Wait.
Okay,
do we agree going
that's
over the
not a
speed limit
negative
breaks the
clause?
law?
Yes.
Does that destroy the soul of our country?
Yep.
It's breaking the law, and there's a consequence to it.
Actually, whoa.
If you're speeding,
if you get caught, you're going to pay a ticket.
If you're speeding, not if there's no cops on. You know how many times I've sped on the LIE going from my best friend lived in was going to school at Stony Brook, which for those not familiar in New York is way out in Long Island, and I was from Brooklyn, and I would go like fucking 100 down the LIE
The speed
to
limit
get there
is the speed
at
of
2 o'clock
traffic,
in the
yes.
morning because there were no cops. Okay, didn't cause any problems. It wasn't right.
Even
It was
with
illegal,
cops.
and I should have gotten a ticket at that speed. I might have even gone to jail, but I never got caught. And again, there were no negative. Now, had I killed somebody, sure, there would have been a negative consequence. But I didn't. So again, what is the negative consequence of undocumented citizens being in this country?
First of all,
so let's use.
Hold on a second, Mix.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on a second, Mix. People, even though speeding, okay, you didn't get caught that time, but people die in car accidents from people speeding all the time, right?
They do.
That's why it's against the law in the first place, not to catch everybody speeding.
Right. And again, so the negative aspect of me speeding is that somebody can get killed. What is the negative aspect of somebody coming into this country illegally?
Well, if you want to take, let's take Springfield. You want to take Springfield? Or Charlotte, Pennsylvania?
If this is going where I think it is, it should be interesting. But go ahead.
Okay.
Let's take Springfield.
Okay, so the resources, that town doesn't have enough resources to take on 12 or 15,000 people
okay,
at
first
a time.
of all, those citizens aren't undocumented. They are here.
I didn't say they were.
To be here.
You're having a strawman argument. I never said they were.
No. But that's my question: is undocumented. Right. What is the negative effects of having undocumented citizens in this country? Because they pay taxes when they buy things. They pay sales tax. Some of them even pay income tax. They keep our economy going because they're spending money.
But they're not justification.
They're not vetted. You could let a criminal. You could let a rapist. You could let a murderer in. What do you mean they don't commit crimes?
But they did commit a crime.
They do commit crimes.
Forgetting that's a misdemeanor. I'm talking about. I'm talking about. Violent crimes are down overall, and they're even less by undocumented citizens. The reason
Ruben.
being because most undocumented citizens are
That's
here to
not true.
work and make money. It is 100%
And stay
true.
under the
Bring it up on the
radar.
board,
It's
Mark.
FBI.
Under
They,
the
right.
radar.
If you've ever, and I've
Oh, it's
asked this
already
question
on the
before,
board. Hey guys, you can just look at the board right now and you can take that, oh, that's not true that you just said to him. And you can see that the FBI reports exactly what the crime rate is.
And
And if some
I didn't
crime
make
is
that argument.
if
I
some
did.
crime
No,
is
as soon as
random,
he's
well,
done,
this,
I'll
this is
continue
makes
making.
why we have one person on the table at once, because then you can make one good argument and he can make a bad argument, then you make a good argument, you can make a bad argument, and we never get to pin anybody or
Sure,
get
sure.
anywhere, right?
As soon as you're done, I'll make the argument.
now,
This
again,
is the
if-
argument. This is the argument for that. A lot of
If you've ever-
police stations did not report their crime to the FBI. That report has a lot of crime that it's not on there.
There's a bunch of murder that's not being reported to the FBI.
All the police stations, all the police stations did not report.
Oh,
all the
no,
police
this was
stations did not
US
report.
Border
yeah, you know what? You know
and
what? It doesn't
Customs.
matter. It doesn't matter because, well, first off, I don't care about dealing with this minutia. You obviously can think through this yourself, and you know that you're making stuff up. But just in
Well,
case
look it
you
up.
don't, the fact is, it doesn't matter how much they do or
No.
don't report because
Look up
it's a
who
random
reported.
amount who does and doesn't do it. So it's relative to the rest of the FBI crime report. So the rest of the FBI crime report for murders versus that for those people who are undocumented, proportionally, it doesn't matter if there's 10 times as many murders in both camps, the proportion is still there. Also, crime is both systematic and random. The systematic crime that people who are undocumented commit are against other undocumented people. The random crime that occurs is randomly distributed. And since there are so few people committing crimes that are here without being documented, they're actually bodies that are absorbing the random bullets in the world. Therefore, the number of people that are here undocumented are reducing your likelihood of being subject to a crime. So, again, back to Rubinator's point and his question, because you keep evading it. What is the negative consequence of somebody coming here illegally? What is the consequence? Like, you understood the consequence of him speeding wasn't he sped, right? The consequence
exactly.
was someone could die. If someone comes here, what is the negative consequence of coming illegally? The negative consequence isn't they came illegally, just like the negative consequence wasn't he sped. It was someone could die. So what's the negative consequence of someone coming here illegally? That's the question he's asking.
Well,
Please address
it's like
it.
I said, it's like I answered before. That person who came illegally could commit a crime and hurt somebody. They could bring drugs into the country.
and some of them, I'm
Right?
sure, are fine people.
And some of them are
that's what he
sure-fine
said.
people. Yeah,
That
some
is
of them are
so
sure-fine
good. That
people.
was a very
But you
good
asked
one.
me, what's the negative consequence? That's it.
So the negative consequence is the possibility of doing
I
something.
could try to still understand.
Yes,
You guys want-
absolutely.
Yeah. I guess we
That's
should all walk.
Okay,
Of
well, we
of
should
just
get rid of
physically
people.
being in this
We should get
country.
rid of people as a whole.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
should we lock up all the priests because there's a possibility that they could?
No.
Because statistically, they do molest children more than like a regular person, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So
Well, if they
should we
have-
lock up priests or not let them
if
in
they
this country?
obtain
Yeah.
if they obtain the license for their church unethically, yeah, we'll start there. They shouldn't even be a priest.
No,
in
but
the
he's
first place.
saying that we don't want them in because they may commit a crime. I guess this is a minority report where you can figure out who's going to commit a crime before they do. But
Well, I'm saying they've already.
But you
they've already
can't not
broken
let them
the
in
law.
because of the possibility of them committing a crime. Is just this.
Then why is it a law?
There's no logical. There's no logic.
Then why is there
I
a
wish
law
I
then?
knew.
We're debating
I wish
about
I knew.
changing laws. Stop talking about laws.
America-
This is
Right.
kinda
We want. I
nonsense,
want.
right?
America-
I want to give more pathways to citizenship. If you want to come to this country and you want to work and you want to contribute, by all means, come in.
Okay,
borders,
that's
you don't
what
have a
Rubinator.
country.
You just said you
Oh
don't know
well,
why they
okay.
made the law.
No, oh, no.
He could answer your question with almost anything. You wouldn't be able to refute it because you said you don't know why they made that law.
What do you mean?
We're debating over the law, so stop using the law.
You don't know why. You just said you don't know why they made that law. He asked that question. So he could almost say anything, and you really can't refute it because you don't know why they made that law. And the very thing
Correct.
that
The
he says might
principle
be the
that
reason.
Ruben's running from is laws should exist for good reasons. And if we're debating what
Yeah.
laws should exist, we should figure out the good reason for that law. You presented that we ought to maintain that these people are here illegally and therefore remove them from the country. The argument is
Why?
we should change the law to keep them because you've not presented a good reason to maintain them as being here illegally. In the same way, if there was a law against driving more than 5 miles over the speed limit, and we found out that driving 15 over actually was just as safe, we'd say, oh, driving
we should
15
change the
over
law.
is
You want to
safer.
say?
Yeah, we should change the law.
It's illegal.
Yes.
So the law. You want to say?
Or I'll give you one better.
Yeah.
Even when the speed limit, like if there's a speed camera, so New York City there's a big argument because of speed cameras. Okay, so if they put them on city streets, and if the speed limit is 35, it will only give you a ticket if they clock you going 46 or higher. You have to be going at least 11 miles an hour on the speed limit. So even then, they're giving a grace, which basically is saying, well, okay, it's speed limit is 35, but if you do 40, that's okay. So even
Officer's
the law is
discretion.
letting people get away.
Officer's
It
discretion.
is officer's discretion.
You
It's
want to just
officer's
open up the
discretion.
borders.
It's also the robot's
I
discretion.
want to give people. I want to make it easier pathways to citizenship for people who want to come to this country.
This
That's what I want.
Come on.
I want people who want to come here to come in legally, to become a citizen, to pay their taxes, to get Social Security, to start putting money into our system and
Then
growing
why
our
is it
economy.
illegal? Then why is it illegal?
Exactly. Why is it illegal then?
I
Why
don't
is it
know. That's
illegal?
and that's my question: is why can't we make it just easier? Oh, you want to come into this country? Okay, let's do a background check. Make sure you're not a criminal or from an insane asylum or whatever nonsense Trump wants to claim they're from, and then give them a Social Security number and say, here you go.
But it's
Aren't they doing that?
it's kind of
Don't they do that?
ridiculous to blame this all on Trump. For Christ's sake, this has
No, I'm not
been
blaming it on
going
Trump.
on.
I'm blaming it on
for years.
No, I'm not
man.
blaming it on
He's a
Trump.
boogeyman.
I'm
Both
just using Trump as an
sides-
example
Okay.
because
Both
he's the one
sides
demonizing
of the
them. Trump
party
is the one
have
demonizing
not
them.
made the right efforts to fix these things. And like it was
No,
the earlier
Democrats
conversation.
tried.
But Trump is making you scared of them. Look at this.
Yeah.
He's
He
already
making me
don't want
afraid
them
of
in because they
nobody.
might commit
He's
a
not
crime.
making me afraid of anybody.
The guy who moves in next door
Nobody's
to
gonna
me
make
might
me
commit a
do
crime
that.
also.
Nobody's gonna make
Well,
me do
illegals
anything.
have committed
Sorry.
crimes.
You guys,
Hey,
are
dude.
And American
Said you have to
citizens
be
have committed
perfect.
crimes.
That
They have
has
to be
happened.
eight
Illegals
guys,
have
dude.
And
committed
Jews
crimes.
have committed crimes. And white people have committed crimes.
Do you remember?
And
All
Haitians have
men
committed
commit
crimes.
crimes.
Guys,
Everybody
Everyone-
commits a crime. And women have
That was a
committed
false
crimes.
assumption.
Yeah.
That was a false assumption that if I support Trump, then he is making me scared.
No.
We're
not
We're not
you.
moving
He's
that
making you scared.
conversation. We are
All right, I
absolutely
shouldn't have
not
brought it up.
having
My
that
bad.
conversation. The conversation we're having, because it's asinine, right? Everyone knows that you are your own person. And what he was really saying was that he was making a social argument that people ought to be scared. And
Okay.
yeah,
I
so
think
we're not
it
having that.
It would be fair. It would be fair if you correct him with his fallacy as fast as you correct Tybert.
Oh, so what we should be trying to do is understand where you're coming from, right? And the question, Ty, is what is it that is being harmed? You think it's a bad idea to allow people to come into the country who are here to stay here that have a job? Yeah? Yes or no? If they are currently here without being
Oh,
documented.
as long as they come in legally.
If people are
That's what
currently
I said.
here,
I
if you think it's a bad idea to let people who
I'm
are
finishing.
currently here with
I
a
heard
job.
the question, dude. I'm saying if they are undocumented, if they come in illegally, the numbers could make the population go up so fast. I mean, if they come in legally, right?
Here's
then
the question.
If they come in legally, then they can
for the 12
filter
million
in.
people that are here
Too many people.
already. Okay. For the 12 million people that are here already and working, ought they to be removed from the country because they are not?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
and
sir.
why should that happen instead of documenting them and making it legal, like Reagan?
Because they started the process
Because
illegally.
You're not yet.
The reason why is because they didn't come through the right way. That's why, and there's too many of them, and they're using up too many resources.
And one more go, Ty. And if they were to come in the right way, you'd be okay with it?
Yes, sir.
And the right way is the legal way?
Yes, sir.
And if we passed a law that said the right way is to fill out a form, that would be a good way to do it then, right?
Oh, okay.
No, I'm asking Ty.
They'd have to be vetted. If you fill out a form, you have to be
They
vetted.
would
to
have
make sure
to be
you're not getting
vetted.
criminals in here.
They would have to be vetted so we don't have criminals. You know what? I think we can agree on that principle. We should not have people that back at home are felons, right, coming to this country. Instead, we should be able to vet people to make sure that we know whether or not they're felons back at home. We can agree on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you understand, then you just agreed that they could just fill out a form and stay if we pass that law.
Too many of them.
Whoa, that's a different statement. That's a different statement. There's literally not too many because they're already here.
Because they are the exactly.
They already are working here.
Just because they're here does not mean there are not too many of them. The towns that they're in are complaining. Maybe if they were spread out.
Literally not.
They're
literally not. They're literally
They
not.
are.
Okay,
Look, you guys can't tell me I'm crazy. You can play that whole crazy thing if you want to, but I saw the
You
town
want to see
hall
the guy?
in
You want to see the
Springfield.
guy who's angry about it
I don't
because
wanna
he
see a
uses
guy. I
the
saw a whole
N-word in
town.
every other sentence. You want to
Sir,
listen to
one
the
guy.
city manager? Do you want to listen to the
How about
people
you-
that are benefiting from it? Do you want to listen to the teachers and the doctors? Do you want to listen to the families
yes.
that have
I
better
want-
schools?
I've already had
because
it.
all of
It's
them
not
are
that I-
doing better.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's not that I want to listen to it. It's that I already have. That's what I'm basing my opinion on. I've listened to people in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, and I've listened to the town
Charleroi,
hall,
Pennsylvania.
Charleroi, Pennsylvania, and I've listened to people in Springfield, Ohio complain, especially the Charleroi, Pennsylvania people.
And they said
they're complaining.
They said
it's too many of them.
So let me ask you a
They're nice
question.
people.
Let me ask you a question.
What is it causing?
Are you substituting understanding the actual consequences for people with having seen a few very active and vocal people at a single town hall? Are you taking the answer to whether or not immigrants are good and adding to the country and replacing it with a question of, did I see a town hall where people were angry? Are you doing that?
No, what I'm doing
Then
is I'm
how
answering
did
a
you
question
come to the
about-
question?
I'm trying to answer.
How did you come to the conclusion that the 12 million people that are here are not benefiting us by appealing to a town hall? How do those two things connect if you're not just substituting the town hall for the question? Are they good?
It's not just the town hall. It's that town, and it's the town of Charleroi, which I've seen both of
Talking
them.
about Charleroi.
And I would hold on a second.
So
I would assume you don't know anything about Charleroi.
Have you
I would
randomly?
assume.
Have you
I'm
randomly
saying what I'm saying.
selected? Have you randomly selected town halls to listen to based on their weighted amount of people that are undocumented in that area? Have you randomly selected these things?
It wasn't random. I intentionally looked for
You
these
were
things.
aimed at it.
I
You were
intentionally
aimed
looked
at
for
it.
that.
Right now, when you don't have a random sample, what you have is called a biased sample. When you have a biased sample, the information you gain will, by definition, affirm what you were searching for in the first place. So the first thing you've done is you substituted a small sample for the entire population. And the second thing you've done is not conducted a disconfirmatory study. You haven't sought to disprove yourself. You've simply found things that confirm what you wanted to believe in the first place. So that's called a confirmation bias. So you've used a substitution error and a confirmation bias to confirm what you want to believe by looking at things. And here's the thing.
Hold on a
I
second.
can't
You're making a
convince
lot
you
of
that you're
assumptions.
wrong. I
You're
can't
making
convince
way
you that
too many
you're wrong.
assumptions.
I can't convince you that you're wrong. No, I asked you. I didn't assume anything. I asked you literally. Did you
you just said
randomly
something-
select them?
Selected them because
Did
I
you
was
randomly
looking.
select them?
I selected them because I was looking for them, those interviews, when I heard, hey, they're in Charleroi, Pennsylvania.
When you heard that
they're in
is the
Charleroi,
selection
Pennsylvania.
bias that's influencing your capacity to find evidence against yourself. Anyone who's acting rationally shouldn't look for evidence for what they believe. They should look for evidence against what they believe.
I'm following the Haitians. If you follow the Haitians to where they're in a big group, you don't have to look over here or over there.
So,
the news report came out. It's on my
randomly
phone.
select.
You see it on your phone.
Randomly
intentionally select. Intentionally select.
Or select
Give him an
every
analogy,
one of them.
Seth. He
The
needs an
other
analogy. He
option
needs
is
an
to
analogy.
select all of them and look at every situation and then ask the people who are saying they're hurting us here to see if they're telling the truth. Because people very often lie, not because they mean to, but because they misunderstand the truth, because they're engaged in a substitution error and a a confirmation bias. When you substitute one question for another and you look for things to confirm that second question that's not a real answer, you end up with a whole story that sounds right but can't be. I'm going to go back to Ruben here. Thank you.
Yeah, just quick, because I had no idea what Charleroi, Pennsylvania was, so I was doing a quick Google search while you're doing that. And I have something here. So Trump's repugnant new claims about immigrants in another small town, Charleroi, southwestern Pennsylvania. Trump unleashed a volley of new attacks on Haitian arrivals to Charleroi and used them to launch a broader argument how Pennsylvania, insisting the towns and villages have been, quote, inundated. In an interview, Charleroi borough manager Joe Manning flatly said that Trump's claims are false or simply do not apply to his town in any sense. Quote, there's what the former president is saying, and then there's easily observable reality. I don't want to read the rest. But basically,
you can use all that
I believe with that, Ruben, we've done a very good job of laying out the facts and whether or not someone is engaged in affirming what they want to believe and substituting an observation that's rational with what they want to believe. I think that nails it on the head. And so here's the question, Ty. Only question left. Do you understand that random
I didn't get the
angry
answer to the other questions. You turned off me.
Do you understand that random angry people at a town hall are not a randomized observation of a town?
And if I can answer, I wasn't just looking at random angry people at a town hall. This guy actually went around the town of Charleroi also and interviewed people in neighborhoods, at businesses, people all over the town. So what you're saying, do I understand? I can understand things.
Ty,
I understand that you're not letting me answer full questions. And you're talking over me. That's what I understand.
Someone who's trying to put together a propaganda piece can go find people to confirm what they're trying to say.
Yes, give him
sure.
an analogy.
I understand that can happen. He just did it. Rubinator just did it.
No, but let's say
no.
Wait.
Do you understand the difference between someone that goes out looking for looking for people to confirm what they want to say versus looking at what the actual facts are and taking those from the person who has the actual facts? Do you understand the difference between that?
So you're discounting. I would have to discount the people that he interviewed. Why would I do that?
Because there's a lot of people who, instead of understanding the facts because they don't have access to them, follow the feelings that they have because they've heard stories from others. And so they repeat those stories. Just like your uncle's cousin who invented a carburetor that gets 100 miles to the gallon. People just invent things and then they tell them like they're real life.
Can I ask a question really quick? So you say these people, they interviewed people and they said that undocumented citizens were committing crime, or what were they doing? According to these interviews.
They were being our own. They were being
I think he froze.
Black.
Did he freeze? I think we lost
They were
him.
black and
My question was going to be is, if you see somebody committing a crime, how do they know they're undocumented? Did they go up and ask their immigration status? Did they ask for their papers? Because what a lot of people do is they see someone speaking with an accent or in a different language or with darker skin, and they just assume they must be an undocumented citizen.
That's right.
So I'm curious to know how these people at the town hall, or even the ones that claim their fucking pets were stolen, how they know they're being done by undocumented people and not American citizens. Because people don't walk around with a sign that says "I'm undocumented." But
Also,
I think
you guys need to give him an analogy. I don't think he understands confirmation bias.
Yeah.
You need to. It would be like okay, toothpaste. The 1 in 10 dentists do not recommend this toothpaste. So he goes and he checks out this toothpaste and he like listens, and the dentists are like, it tastes bad. It's kind of too minty for me, right? And he's like, I know I've heard stories of toothpaste is bad, man, because like listen to this dentist, right? And he's ignoring like all the other dentists. He's seeking out that one bad toothpaste and investigating it, and then he's painting a picture about all toothpaste.
Yeah,
which is what he did there. He did not do a random. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, let's say he interviewed. Let's say this guy had a clip and he interviewed 10 people, and these 10 people all said that undocumented immigrants are doing this, this, and this. He may have interviewed 50 people, and only 10, kind of like you say, only 10 said that these people, and the other 40 said, nah, there's no problem at all. But he took those 10, cut them up into a YouTube video, threw it on TikTok, and now he's like, see, everyone's complaining about the undocumented. It doesn't show the other 30 that couldn't, or the other 40 that couldn't care less. Just the 10
and
that
even
fit his
even
narrative.
those 10, and even those 10, like 7 of them could just be hearing what one of them said, and one of them, one of the OG sources, the secondary sources, could just be reiterating what one said, and then they bounce off each other and they make up a story that did not exist.
Well, I mean, also
and-
one of the Haitian cat stories, it turned out that the cat was found later, a week later,
It was
in her basement. It was in her basement, and she went and apologized to the Haitians.
To everybody, yep.
That's a good ending to that story, I guess, for now.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump off in 2 seconds, Dr. Sayers. But
yeah, this is a good ending for the day, guys. I really appreciate you coming in, Ruben.
I was going to say, a good place I usually go with someone like that when they talk about wanting to deport 12 million, besides the fact that it will completely destroy our economy, but you're not going to get them to do that, is how do you do that without infringing on American citizens' constitutional rights?
And how many
how
of
do you
them will be
find-
women and children?
How do you, forget that, how do you find 12 million on, do you just go around asking people?
I don't want them knocking on my door.
You can't, you can't, if somebody knocks on my door and just because we think you have an undocumented citizen here, it's like Anne Frank, I'm going to have to keep somebody in my fucking cellar? Like, what happens? And if they come in, if they don't have probable cause and they don't have a search warrant, oh, you want to come in? Nope. Slam the door. So how is this going to, you can't even do it without violating the Constitution.
Absolutely. And they appealed to slavery repeatedly. I think Recruit's point, people are choosing to be here. Like there is human trafficking, and it needs to be stopped, right?
Yeah,
but
and that's a problem.
but the people that are here are choosing to be here, and it's because it's a better life for them. They shouldn't be a permanent underclass. They should be documented. We should be working towards that so they can work.
Citizenship.
Or at very least a pathway to a green card, right? Like, come on.
Or a work visa.
Oh, also, there's a lot of subsidies for like farms and things like that, and it's like, instead of giving it straight to the owners of the farms, why aren't we using it to increase wages for farm workers? We can give them subsidies all day long to make as much corn as they can and let it rot on the fields, but when it comes to paying workers, there's no subsidies to be found. That's it.
That makes sense. All right, folks. I think that was a good evening. I thought fantastic stream, everyone. I really appreciate the people that jumped in. I think, Ray, I know you had your hand up for a while. What we do here is we go over the general errors in thinking that are pretty common. And if you want to come in, when we come in around 9:30, learn what those are, then you can jump in to talk to people about the unpacking what they're saying in terms of their errors. So.
Sounds good.
With that, we are on around 9:30, 10 o'clock Pacific time, Friday and Saturday. And you can find us at teachprogress.org, teachprogress.org, or ltpvr.com.
It's still the same.
Learn, teach, progress, virtualreality.com, or teachprogress.org. That's the organization. And it's run by and controlled by the people who are volunteering to learn these things and be part of what we're doing. So you're welcome to join our Discord. And if you like what we're doing, try and volunteer. We'll have a meeting on, I believe, Sunday at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So there you go.
Sell a t-shirt.
All right. Yeah, we should. We should sell that on a t-shirt. That looks so awesome.
On a black shirt. That'll look cool.
All right, everybody.